Okay, so continuing from the last video, as I was mentioning, everything, on the annotate tab and, on this ribbon all comes in 2D, so if you put dimensions in, it's only going to be for whatever view that you're in. And, I'm in the first floor, so dimensions that I put on, any dimensions that I put in would just be on the first floor. The detail line command, which I was talking about at the end of the last video, this allows you to draw lines, in whatever view that you're in, and they're just going to show up in that view. So this is where you can start to kind of draw like you would in AutoCAD. For anybody that's familiar with AutoCAD, you know how you just draw line work in AutoCAD. This is what you can use this detail line command to draw lines, and you can see this whole detail tool palette is used to start to create like wall sections and detail, really detailed stuff that you guys are going to be doing at the end of the semester. So what you do is you take a section that you cut, and then you use this sort of stuff to actually detail, add hatch patterns and stuff like that, as you can see, in the picture that I'm hovering over right here. But the detail line, you could use, if you guys wanted to quickly lay out, or sketch like a plan or something like that, you can use detail line work, to do that and sketch anything out. You'll notice when you hit detail line, you get like you go to the modify tab, which if I exit out, escape the command, you see there's a modify tab. But anytime you press a command, you get like a special modify tab for that command, and then you see with the detail line, I have a whole bunch of different things that I can use to create a line. This is just a straight line that's continuous, so wherever I put, I can just keep drawing. This makes a square, and then so forth. You can hover over each one to kind of see what it which each one is. Tangent fill it. Go back to that for a second. This is what this does is it does pick lines. So if I had if I imported like a CAD drawing or something, I can use this command and I can pick the lines that were already drawn, in the drawing itself. These same commands come in with the wall tool, which I'll show in a later video. But just to give you quickly, you see how when I put wall, I have the same commands. I can draw a wall differently, and then just to show you the pick line, I can pick this line now, and it's going to create a wall for me on that line. So if you wanted to, you could sketch something, floor plans quickly using detail lines, and then walls using the pick line. You can just pick everything to do it quickly. So going back, and then this is to add some more text. Obviously, I showed you earlier the quick text command on here, but this is where you can check spelling and add some stuff. Find some keywords or anything like that. This is the tag stuff. I really haven't used much of it. It's more for really done construction documents, like full-on construction documents, to add like window tags and stuff like that to a drawing. This color fill option right here is how you would create legends. That you can hover over those, and we can get into those later on if ever needed. The symbol one is somewhat important. This symbol icon right here. I haven't really used much of this other stuff in my with using Revit, but I do use the symbol one, and what this does is it allows you to bring in either a graphic scale or a north arrow as well. And these I already have preloaded in, but there's a whole bunch of different north arrows and graphic scales that you can bring in, and that you can actually even create your own if you wanted to, and bring those in. But a lot of times the symbol command is only going to be used to put stuff on a sheet itself. When you get down to that, if I on any of the sheets that you're going to put in, to put your drawings on, there. So I think that's pretty much it for the annotate tab. A couple of quick things that I did want to just let you know for like some quick commands. If you hold down your mouse button, it allows you to pan, and then drag the wheel on your mouse, I should say. It allows you to pan. If you hold down the shift and press And well, obviously you have to be in 3D view. But if you hold the shift in 3D view, if you hold the shift and press down on the wheel, it allows you to rotate. You can't see it because I don't have anything, but if you watch the cube up here, you can see that I'm rotating a little bit. Also, let me put a couple of lines in to show you this quickly. If you hold down the control key on your keyboard, you see that you get a little plus sign next to the mouse. So that means you can select multiple things. If you hold down the shift key, you can subtract. Oh, you see there's a minus sign now, so you can subtract anything that you selected. Another kind of helpful thing is you can see how I have all these line works, and obviously I could highlight like this to select them all, or I could hold control to select everything. But sometimes you may have a lot going on, and if you highlight, you'll grab a bunch of stuff. So if you click on this and hit tab, it'll select everything all at once that's in a chain, and everything that's linked, and then everything's selected there. So those are just kind of some quick commands to help you move a little bit faster when you're doing some things. The Analyze tab is what we're going to be using to analyze your buildings based on energy performances and solar radiation. Obviously, when you guys install that lighting analysis add-in, this Insight 360 is what will appear here. This is this energy analysis palette. It comes automatically within Revit, so you should see that right after you install Revit. And then this is what would add it on, and then we'll get into all this stuff later on in the video, and then you can actually do heating and load cooling calculations within Revit, and these come, these two palettes right here come within Revit automatically. And then you can see over here, load. You can see like load combination, load cases. That's because Revit could actually calculate the loads in your building and how much forces would be on like a structure. That's not anything that we would get, or that we'll be getting into in this class. But just keep in mind that that's something that Revit is capable of doing. And then you can see like this check system. Just like you can check the loads for your structure, when you design either like a plumbing system or mechanical system, you can actually have Revit check it to make sure it will operate, fully and be an actually working system. But again, that's not something that we do. We kind of just have you guys, design it with using quick calculations. But that's just give you a little intro to those to see that that you can actually design those. Mass and Insight. This is a pretty big tab just because basically from the Model and Site and Modify Site, these two palettes right here are what you use to create a site. And that's what I'm actually going to be showing in Tutorial B on how to use a site. So I'll get into those, what everything in here, and pretty much I'll most likely be using pretty much every one of these buttons to do the site. So you'll learn those pretty well. And then these conceptual mass buttons are to actually quickly create and place masses, quickly to kind of just throw something together if you want to test it on an analysis. And this is actually what's going to be Tutorial C. So this, you can see, right away, this Mass and Insight is going to be pretty much the first two tutorials that I'm going to be giving you guys. So, it's a pretty big tab. Collaborate is going to be a tab that you never use. This is to share files and stuff with each other or with people that you're working with in a firm, so people can actually see what you're doing in real time. However, on campus, this won't work because we don't have a powerful enough server to actually do this. So unfortunately, since you guys are going to be working in groups, it would be nice if you could have this so you guys could share files in real time and both work on it at the same time. But unfortunately, we're not able to do that because of our server, capabilities at the school. The View tab and ribbon, it's somewhat important, but it's also not, because a lot of these buttons are in other places. You can see here, like pretty much this whole graphics tab is either going to be in this properties kind of window right here, and then a lot of it is down here, which I'll be getting to once I finish going through all these tabs. And then you can see here, like thin lines is quick up, is a quick button up here is for that. Then section is up there as well. 3D view is up there. Call out is to do like a when you do a detail, you can call out a little area of it to blow it up and create like a really detailed kind of extra detail. And then this is where you can add more plan views. If you ever put in a level and delete it, you can hit floor plan and create a new, you'd be able to recreate that level. So what I mean by that is, say I delete this first floor, we're like, oh, I want to actually do a first floor. I can go to plan, floor, and then switch it, and then now I'll be able to do, I can put in that first floor. So that's how you always do floor plans, if you ever need to do a floor plan. But then you'd have to just find where it went. It's probably under this tab. But I'll get into this in a second, where you can find everything. I'll just do Control Z is also undo, which is the same for pretty much any program that you have. And then a draft in view is something that you can open quickly and just kind of sketch something, to do a quick sketch. The one thing that you want to remember with a draft in view is it's not associated with anything. So it kind of becomes like an AutoCAD view, like a window in AutoCAD, where whatever you draw in here, it's not going to show up on any view, and you can't use it in any view. So that's something like if you wanted to just draw like a quick sketch or something like that, you could use that. Sometimes I use it to create legends, or some, like if I have like long text or something like that, that's what I'll use a draft in view for. But then again, you have legends and stuff here. Then you can do schedules. I do have a few schedules created already that I'll show you guys. One is actually a sheet list. And then again, this stuff is close hidden is up there as well. And then user interface. This is the project browser and the properties bar. So if you ever close these out by accident, like say if I hit close and I want to get them back, this is where you can get them back, and then you would just check that you want to see them, and they're there. And these can be moved around. If you drag this and move it around, you can move it however you like it to be. I like them stacked on top of each other, but some people actually like them to be like that. I kind of like to have as big of a window as possible open. And then they're kind of finicky to get them to back. Some you can do split like this if you want. I like to kind of keep them stacked, as I mentioned, because it kind of gives you a big enough window. It's a little hard to get them to go exactly where you want to be. You gotta play around with them a little bit. And then there's one that goes like this, where you'll now have you can switch between the two, like this way. I like to see both at the same time, so that's why I always have them separate. Separate looking like this. So that's that tab. The Manage tab. Actually, before I get into the Manage tab, I'm actually running out of time, so I'm going to continue the Manage tab in the next video. I'll continue the Manage tab from and then